Hi, this is Coach Joe Lukacs, and welcome to this episode of my video and podcast. Recently I threw a video up on LinkedIn, and I asked some people, hey, if you want me to answer any questions for you, any of my connections, hey, just shoot me a note, an email, whatever, and I'll be happy to answer it. And you never know what you're going to get when you do those things, but I kind of think it's cool, so I think we're going to continue to roll with that for a while. So one of my connections, Matthew, wrote basically, he gets in front of a lot of people, right? This is more of a sales marketing thing. He gets in front. He's a great, hey, I'm a great networker. I get along. I can sit down. I can get people to sit down with me. What I can't get people to do is hire me, right? And I think for a lot of people in this business who are very bright and care, right? That's really what it's all about. You can't help, you can't serve if you can't get hired. So Matthew, what I'm going to talk to you about. And again, you gave me a little bit of background, which I'll kind of weave in here in the next 5 minutes. What we need to do. So first off is people's stories matter. So the first thing I'm always going to recommend to anybody, and look, I don't care if you're having one of these with somebody, a cup of coffee, right, or anything like that, is you need to know about them, right? This is not, and I think, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but I think a lot of people in this business go into pitch mode way, way, way too early, right? They want to talk about themselves and our process and how we run money and our planning process and all the, statement of preeminence and core stories and everything like that. But you don't know who you're talking to, right? So the first thing we really want to do is we want to ask, we really want to sit down and find out about the person, right? And yes, you can do some background. You can look on LinkedIn and Facebook and maybe Twitter and wherever else they may be hanging out online, and they'll give you some background, which is great, right? More than we had years ago for sure. I remember before the internet. So you have a lot more information today than you ever did before. But it's not going to tell you the story. And I want their story on how their thoughts on investments, their thoughts on retirement, their thoughts on money. If I can find out kind of who they work with, are they a do-yourselfer? Do they work with a competitor? Like, I want all that, right? And then if it's a competitor, I want to know, how'd you end up over there? Because is it your neighbor, or did your kids play soccer together, right? I mean, because those things are going to matter if they're going to make a change, right? So I need to know that, all right? And I want you to remember this. Matt, this is really, really important. If you cannot find any pain in that person, so if they don't have any pain that they're either aware of, or maybe you have to go find, no pain, no change. So if they own this mousetrap and your mousetrap's slightly better than theirs, it's not going to be enough of a rationale to make a change. Okay, so if they're really happy or okay, and you're going to give them great, it's usually not enough to make a change. And I think that's what frustrates a lot of people, because you can help them, you can enhance them, but it's rarely enough to get them to move. So we need to find pain points. So where's our pain points? It's really about asking questions. Again, this is why pitching, it does not work in our business anymore. It's about interviewing, right? You need to ask them about, their goals, what keeps them up at night, right? How they feel about the other relationship. Because if you can't find something to talk around, for example, how do you feel about your current relationship? Hey, I'm curious, how often you get together? Oh man, I haven't seen my advisor in 3 years, right? Now you can talk around it. Well, I'm curious, how come? Because we see our people at least twice a year. How come you haven't seen yours in over 3, right? So we talk about that. Hey, I'm curious, when's the last time you had a scientific risk profile or risk analysis done of how you view money and markets and investing? I've never had one of those. Interesting, because what we do in our process, we use these various tools, right, to go ahead and really understand not just kind of your money goals, but we really want to understand, kind of how you view things, right? Because the emotions are what's going to matter, right? So we talk about that. So now I got a second pain point, right? And hey, I'm curious, do you know what you're paying in fees? Oh no, I really don't. I said, what did you? Well, we're 100% transparent here. We're going to tell you exactly what your fee would be, your investment would be to work with us, right? So I mean, you can see how by just having conversations and asking, again, we're gonna control the agenda with the questions. But I'm gonna, what I would tell my guys and gals today, if they're sitting with a prospect, is I want to talk about how often they communicate and meet if they have a relationship. When's the last time they had a risk profile done? Most of my guys use Riskalyze, which is a great tool. Hey, do you know what you're paying? I'm gonna always look at those 3 kind of avenues first to determine whether or not I can have a conversation with them that will create some pain. Okay? Because if I can find some uncertainty there, I say, well, look, hey, would you be open to, X, right? So, would you be open to me taking a look and doing I'll be happy to do a risk analysis for you. Would you like, since you don't have it, you need it, would you like me to do it for you? I'll do it as a gift, right? Or whatever, right? Hey, I'll analyze what you're paying. I'll give you information, right? So this is the other thing I think is really important. I think a lot of you lead with financial planning. And I think it's okay, but here's the reality of it. Just because somebody says that's a good idea, all of us know the follow through sucks for a lot of people, right? And then you get frustrated whether you do it paid or not. So I've always liked the idea of a little mini project. I think getting mini projects done, adding some value up front, right? Doesn't tie you to them, they to you, right? And here's what I want you to remember, and then we're going to wrap this up. Matt, you got to remember this. If someone's got $500,000, in their mind, it's a $500,000 decision. If they got several $1 million, it's a several $1 million decision, right? It is so. We may look at it as like, hey, no big deal. You sign the ADV, ACAT forms, planning agreement, and your money magically is going to move from point A to point B. And we don't think of it as a big deal. But to the other person, like, crap, this is all my money, right? And how if it gets screwed up? Or you just don't know what people think. Okay, so slow, steady process pain. Remember that. Slow, steady process pain. That's what's really going to matter most in getting somebody from, hey, suspect to prospect to pipeline to client. Okay? Hey, Matt, thanks for the question. I appreciate it. And for everybody else, hey, I'm here, man. So if you wanna pick my 25 years of wisdom and over 50,000 coaching sessions, send me a note. I swear to you, I'll answer it and I'll give you some value. Have a great day.